Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea LaPlante. I'm a National Marketing Director with the Juice Plus Company, and I am also a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. But most importantly, I'm a mom who, my quick story to my journey is I have a son who overdosed on isolated vitamin supplements. And it was a huge wake-up call to my family, so I did a lot of homework and looked into our food supply and really was looking for more plants to get into my family's diet in a way that I could really control how things were grown, and partnered with the Juice Plus company because they are very forward-thinking company that understands sustainability and growing plants, allowing them to ripen on the vine, testing them for contaminants, and really the best type of produce I could get into my family. And once I partnered with the company, I realized that they are so forward-thinking and sustainability matters so much to them that they came up with this aeroponic garden called the Tower Garden. And I'm so excited to share it with you tonight because it's absolutely one of the most amazing things. If you value sustainability, you're absolutely going to fall in love with the Tower Garden. Let me just get to the next slide. So this is Tim Blank, and if you haven't heard of Tim Blank, he actually created the land exhibit at Epcot. So if you've been to Future, it's actually in the Epcot Center. It's called The Land, and you get in the boat and you cruise through and see all of the plants that are growing. Well, if you haven't been there, this is really the technology that spearheaded the brainchild for Tower Gardens. So Tim Blank actually left Epcot Center in Disney to create a growing system that the world could use for individual use, whether it's an individual family or whether it could be community or even Tower Garden farms. But the premise of the Tower Garden is really to give control back to the people. The Tower Garden is the future of urban growing. There's no dirt. There's actually 98% less water used. So we've actually gotten better with our sustainability with 98% less water. It's 90% less space and 100% success. Now this is just a great example of how you can save money with the Tower Garden. So there is an initial investment, but when you think about the cost of produce, and typically if you're going to buy organic produce even, it's not only has it been jet lagged, it has been picked prior to being ripened in the vine, shipped 1,500 miles. You have to worry about contaminants, listeria, recalls. When we just think about the recent lettuce recalls and all of the recalls that we're hearing over and over, many times people are buying produce lettuce at the store, bringing it home, and it's gone bad before they've even had a chance to give it to their family. So I know when I purchased my Tower Garden and I started growing my greens, I didn't have to worry about contaminants. I didn't have to worry about recalls. I didn't have to worry about 60 hands touching my greens. And I didn't have to worry about washing it. I actually grow what I love. I grow a variety. It's alive until it's picked, and I just eat it. I don't even have to wash it. And then my kids when you teach your kids to grow, they end up eating more of what you grow and they become part of it. So it's just been an incredible gift for my family. And I would say within the first 6 months, even sooner than that for my family, we ended up covering the cost of our Tower Garden because of the cost that I was spending on greens. So there are 4 ways the Tower Garden is an earth-friendly choice. And these are just 4, but it leaves a smaller carbon footprint, which is so exciting. You don't have to drive to the store to get your lettuce. You don't have to worry about the planes, trains, and automobiles that have provided that lettuce to the store. You don't have to worry about throwing it out. You just walk to your tower, you pick it, and you eat it. So my tower is, you might even hear the water in the background, but it's in my office. I pick it and I bring it to my kitchen, and I actually walk about 3 steps. So it's pretty amazing. It uses only 10% of the land and water for traditional farming, and it's vertical. So it's actually not going to take up any of the soil. So at this point in the stage of our human society, the human species is growing, the population is growing, and our population is not going to be able to, the soil is not going to be able to withstand the amount of people that are going to be living on the earth. And that's going to be a problem. We're not going to have enough food to sustain us going forward. So with this vertical garden, we're not using the soil, we're not depleting the soil, We're not taking up that space. We're actually using the air. So it makes so much sense. We're not using soil at all. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But if you think of this image, a ½ acre of Tower Gardens equates to 30 acres of land and produce. Now, how exciting is that? It recycles 100% of the nutrients in the water, and it reduces the need for pesticides and herbicides, which is pretty amazing too. So this is just, now we're just going to take a look at the towers. What does it look like when it starts to grow? This is week 1 in the first image, week 2 in the second image, week 3 in the third image. So I like to call this a plug and play. You plug it in and you walk away. And I would have to say, I have a family, a very active family, 3 kids, and I can't keep a houseplant alive. It's not that I don't want to, it's just I don't have the time. So what I love about the Tower Garden is you plug it in. It's on a timer. So the water recycles itself on a timer. It clicks on and off, and so do the lights. So if you have it indoors, which mine is indoors, I'm growing my greens year-round indoors, the lights click on and off. So all I need to do is refill the basin that you see there, which is, it's absolutely amazing. You walk away and it takes care of itself. So this is what a Tower Garden looks like outside someone's patio. And then I just added a photo of what it looks like to grow your greens. And the green pods there, that's called rock wool. It's a volcanic ash, and you just put the seeds right inside. And please, people, only put 1 or 2 seeds in there because it really takes off. If you were to put, you know, so if you put, use lettuce seeds, you might want to use 8 or 9. But if you're going to use a bigger plant with larger seeds, you only want 1 or 2, especially like tomatoes and cucumbers. So you'll have a lot of plants in there, and they'll just take off. So you can pick what you like to grow in a beautiful variety and continue to grow year-round. So here's a picture of some family's tower where they have several. And this is just on the back deck of someone's house. And I always say one of the mistakes I made when I started was the very first time I planted, I didn't really plan it out too well. And I put my tomatoes up top and I had some lettuces on the bottom. But I learned early on to put the heavier, bigger things on the bottom, like the cucumbers and tomatoes, and work my way up with lettuces and herbs and things, and even the chard, which grows up tall. And they're absolutely beautiful. And it looks like some of those flowers on there are edible flowers as well. So this is a Tower Garden. If you can see, the background is a building. It's on the balcony of a building, and you can see it's several stories high. And this is what we talk about when we say taking healthy back. So when you are living in an area where you do not have access to clean produce or a garden, here's a way to grow your own and just walk out your slider and pick your produce. And you could be 10 stories high. This is just a great visual of Better Homes and Garden and how the Tower Gardens fit so well with the mindful gardener. When we talk about being mindful, we talk about loving the earth. We talk about recycling, giving back to the earth, and just creating a place for future generations. We talked a little bit about the sustainability earlier, but not only is it beautiful, it's just a beautiful thing to give back to the earth and to really think about future generations. This is an incredible slide of AT&T Park in California. And this is a Major League Baseball stadium where they've incorporated Tower Gardens. So when people go to get their burgers or whatever it is that they're eating at this Major League Baseball stadium, they're incorporating the Tower Garden greens for salads and to have on top of their food. Now think about how athletes are typically, some of the commercials you see and what athletes typically promote on television. It's not necessarily greens, but now we are creating a movement to show athletes how important nutrition is for fuel and performance. And what a better way to do that than at our major league stadiums. If you haven't heard of Stephen Ritz yet, you have to check him out. He actually partnered with our company because he works in an inner city school in the South Bronx, and his kids had no access to greens or clean whole food. And he really wanted to bring these types of learning and hands-on technology to his kids. So he's created an entire movement where not only has he brought towers into his school is now the first health and wellness center in the country. And it's all started from Tower Gardens. So he grows from seed and he teaches kids how to grow all the way up through high school. And here's another picture of them as well. So this is Stephen Ritz, who's a teacher, and he's really taught kids culinary skills, science, technology, math, hands-on learning. When you think about what kids are learning in school today, so many kids are sitting in their seats. We have what I call as the sitting disease. They're not allowed to get up and move around. They have to sit still. They have a lot of energy to get out. So why not bring towers in and teach them what produce looks like, where it comes from? It actually comes from a seed. Let them pick it, taste it, feel it. I remember I have several tower gardens in my schools in my community, and one of the parents came up to me and said, "Thank you so much. It's the first time my child has ever eaten anything green." So when they grow it, they want to eat it. This is a picture of one of the schools in my community where I have a tower garden in, and the kids are learning how to grow. They're growing their own greens. They're taking the lettuce and they're bringing it to the cafeteria, and they're using that as part of their lunch. And when you think about having kids have access to farming and growing, they don't typically have access anymore to where our food comes from. So this is an incredible way to get kids, schools, and communities involved. Here's just another beautiful picture of a nursery school. Now, wouldn't you love your kids to be going to a school where they can learn where their food comes from and be part of it? We also have a curriculum that's attached to this all the way from kindergarten all the way up through high school. Now, we're also now talking about getting into communities and restaurants and things like this. So this is a cafe where they're using the tower gardens and they're using it to sustain their restaurant. So you can pick the greens here and use that to provide for local restaurants. And this is a restaurant called Bell Book and Candle in New York City, and I was there with Sue Pierce, who is going to be sharing her tower gardens with us. Absolutely incredible, on the roof of a building in New York City, and all of the produce sustains the restaurant below. What this is doing, not only to help keep the building cool in the summer, it's also bringing bees back to the city. And we know how incredibly important bees are to society. If we don't have bees, we don't have plants, and then we don't have humans. So this is such an integral way of getting more greens and using the buildings that we have, since we're not going to be having to use it in the soil. If you haven't gone to O'Hare Airport or walked through, this is a tower garden farm inside an airport, and they had the world's first farmers market inside an airport several years ago. So the produce within these walls and all of these tower gardens in O'Hare Airport actually sustain all the restaurants within the airport. So how fascinating is that? Those plants are not getting on a plane and being shipped somewhere far away. They're grown on a tower and getting right into people's bellies and helping to heal the gut and everything else that plants will do. And this is just a great visual. It's a project called Heroes, Hometown Heroes, and they were really working with veterans. And there are different projects that communities are doing with towers, but to think about providing tower gardens, whether it's for veterans or whether it's in food pantries or roofs of restaurants or wherever they are, they can do so much good in pulling communities together. This is a picture of my tower, which is right behind me. And I'm growing in New England, where it's snowing and cold, and there's no access to growing your own produce for more than 6 months out of the year at this point. So to be able to walk in and grow my own greens and pick them and eat them every day and get those live enzymes into my body, that's the key to health and prevention. And I think that's the best way to take healthy back and be sustainable at the same time. So this is another example of a tower right outside the beach. Obviously, it's not planted in the earth. There, you typically wouldn't see a garden in beach sand, but here you have access to your own right on your back deck. And we also have a new microgreen extension kit as well that can be attached to the tower gardens. Just a few visuals here of a farm in Hawaii and what it looks like to grow your own and just have access to all these greens. And this is a massive scale of tower gardens. So you can have 1 tower garden in a home, 3 in your home, or you can have a massive tower garden farm that's going to be feeding multiple communities. Again, what can you grow in the tower garden? Everything but a root vegetable, but I love in the summer being able to grow my own tomatoes and go out and pick it and eat it. So you could have a tower garden with just lettuces, you can put your cucumbers and tomatoes on it. I had eggplant growing, squash. Sky's the limit, again, as long as it's not a root vegetable. How fun is this? Now, when we talk about sustainability, what about simplifying? Having your own RV, driving it around the country or wherever you want to go, unpacking your tower, and growing your garden wherever you are. Now, what an amazing lifestyle, right? How fun is that? So there are 10 reasons to start a tower garden. I think there are many more than that, but this is just a quick overview. It costs $1.50 a day for a year, and then it's yours for 10, 20, 30 years. It's made with food grade plastic, which means it won't leach chemicals into the produce, which is very important. It has a double UV protective coating, which will last in the sunshine for years. It uses less than 10% of the water of a conventional garden. Now we know we're up to that 98%. Includes all tools and supplies, so there's no soil gardening tools needed. I mean, this is great for an activity at a adult day health center or some retirement communities. Fewer ground pest problems. Grow a garden in half the time of a conventional garden. Use no harmful fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides. No weeding. Time is money. More nutritious. Vine ripened produce is even more nutritious. And you grow what you like. You grow what you eat. And if you have kids or grandchildren, this is the best way to get kids starting to understand food is fuel and what it does and getting them to eat it. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to stop the share so that I can introduce Sue Pierce. And okay, Sue, I'd love for you to take it away and show us your towers.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to mention that I love that last slide that Andrea showed. You know, NASA studied our tower gardens and they said, you're wrong. It's not 90% less water. It's actually 98%. We were happily corrected by that. And I believe now NASA also studied the towers and said it's 3 times as fast. So I'm going to give you a good glimpse into how exactly that happens. Many of you were well aware of the latest romaine lettuce scare and throwing it away. I did not have that problem because we don't buy lettuce in the supermarket anymore. The biggest story that was never covered in the news about that was that here we are, there were the worst wildfires to ever hit California, drought-stricken California. Every single head of romaine lettuce grown in the soil, or any lettuce for that matter, takes 30 gallons of water to grow 1 head of lettuce in the soil, which is just unbelievable. Our tower garden is 1 gallon of water for that same head of lettuce. So that's what 98% less water looks like. And that's a pretty dramatic difference. So I am going to show you, okay, so let me spin you around here. So this is what my family affectionately calls OT. This is our original tower. When all this planting took place 2 weeks ago. So these are all 2 weeks old. So you can see that these lettuces and how fast they're growing. They're going to be ready to harvest in another week or two. It was interesting that Andrea mentioned growing her tomatoes outside. I threw a couple of tomato seeds in one of my other towers, and it grew so fast inside that I decided to pot it and put it next to the tower. And I think you can see that I've got all sorts of tomatoes and they're starting to ripen. So I'm excited to have indoor tomatoes. That's not necessarily something that I would recommend, but it's fun. They grow so fast that it was an easy thing to check out. So this is our second tower. This is Tim. It's named after Tim Blank. It stands for Tower in Motion. This is a tower garden that I bring to all sorts of different places. schools, senior centers, food pantries, so that they can get a glimpse into how easy it is to grow a tower. So a lot of these plants are being harvested. I planted a few new ones. This is what they look like about a week old. So this is chives that will be ready to harvest in a couple of weeks. I have Swiss chard, 4 different varieties of lettuce, 2 different varieties of kale, parsley, dill, all sorts of things. I'm just going to spin this around before I show you my other one. So one of the things that I like to talk to people about with the towers is that 1 in 8 people in the United States is food insecure, which means that they do not have access consistently to food that would lead to an active, healthy lifestyle. So 1 in 8 Americans, that is a huge amount. That's 40 million people in this country, 12 million of which are children that don't have access to clean, healthy food, let alone fruits and vegetables. So this is really important that we get Tower Gardens out into the community. It is said to be one of our most chronic and under-addressed problems in the United States. And we have more fruits and vegetables that are imported from other countries now than in any other time in our history. So as Andrea was talking about the land use before and the water conservation, this is really something that we need to get in food pantries and soup kitchens, in schools, in colleges, I mean, imagine nursing homes. Imagine the joy of elderly who used to have gardens that they can't garden now because they can't get down in the dirt. I have a friend of mine who is just recently bought a tower, and he is in a wheelchair. And it was amazing because I brought my tower garden to visit his school, and he wheeled over to the tower and he lifted his arm up next to the tower. And all of the second graders immediately, just their jaws dropped, and they said, "Oh, you can reach that. You can reach, you can garden." And he hadn't really thought about it and got really excited with the idea, because raised beds he said, raised beds just difficult. It's difficult for me to do. So now he's got his tower in his dining room, harvesting off of it every day, which is really exciting. So imagine what these towers could do in offices, in food pantries, and soup kitchens, and schools. Imagine how it could change the health, behavior, finances, and preserve the Earth's resources. I mean, you're talking a huge, huge impact, and we all want to do more. So I will come into my kitchen and show you my third tower. So if you think that you don't have room, you have room. Hold on, let me spin this around, because this tower is tucked right in the corner. We kind of have our table pushed up against it, just so the dogs don't get near it. But you can see, I mean, just the green on that. That is not something that you see in the supermarket. You do not see green like that. And it grows really, really fast. So I want to show you this bok choy. A few days ago, you couldn't even tell that it was bok choy. And it just absolutely pops, and it's amazing. So normally I do not have 3 towers in my house. 2 of them are travel towers. Like I said, I bring them out and get them exposure in the world. But I will tell you this, having 3 in the house, everybody in the house is a little, I haven't been moving the other 2 because the weather in New England has been so awful and so brutally cold. But I can tell you it's really interesting because everybody in the house is like, they're a little nervous about the towers leaving, and only being back down to 1. So it really is an exciting, something to really fall in love with. I gardened outside, and every critter known to man came into my yard and ate everything. So this is so fun. I garden year round indoors. because I don't deal with bugs. I don't have to wash anything. No pollen, no nothing. I mean, it's literally, it has turned into our fast food. So, and I'll leave you with this. We went cross country this summer. We stripped our entire tower garden clean, packed everything up in mason jars, took it all with us. And when my husband came home, he was gone for 17 days. The rest of us were gone for 26. And he came home and I said, please send me a picture of the tower. I want to see what it looks like. And after 17 days, everything was completely regrown. So it really is so extraordinary. He said, I got home really late. I didn't even have to go to the grocery store. He had his lunch the next day, all grown right there, super, super easy. So with that, I will hand it back over to Andrea.
Oh, Sue, what an amazing story. Thank you so much for showing that to us. Everybody, we're so excited that you joined us tonight. And we just want to let you know, Sue and I have partnered together, and some of you here love the idea of making this kind of an impact in the world and in your communities. And if this speaks to you and you love the idea of having a tower of your own, get with the person who invited you on this call and they can help set you up. And if you love the idea of being part of this community and making this a mission-driven just opportunity for you and your family financially, we're always looking for more voices. We're always looking for more people who value this. We really care about what we're doing. We want to get more of these towers into the communities and beyond. So thank you, Sue, for that amazing display of your towers at your home and all that education. And we're looking for more voices. So if it speaks to you, that's another thing as well. You can partner with us to cover cost of your own tower or to share towers within your community. So thank you, everybody. I'm just going to stop the recording. And hopefully, if you want to ask any questions at the end, we'll be here. Sue and I will just stick around for a few more minutes. Thank you, everyone.